You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning. I'm here with Ben McCollum, the University of Iowa's men's basketball coach. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Welcome back to Iowa City, right?
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You had a stint here earlier, right, in your career?
Yep. No, I was
until 8 years old, or?
Yep. So I was born here, Mercy Hospital, and lived here till it probably was anywhere between 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. Moved to Storm Lake after that. Mom got a job, and then lived there for a few years, quite a few years, and then went to North Iowa Area Community College, Maryville, Missouri after that, and then obviously back to Maryville, Des Moines, and now here. So
I just wanted to ask you a few things. I know your mother was a judge, Mary Timko, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And I remember, my wife's a court reporter, and I don't know if she deposed or had depositions with your mother, but knew of her. And then I looked it up, and she's a Johnson County attorney, or assistant attorney, right?
Yep.
In Johnson County.
Yep.
In the mid-'80s, like 82 to 88.
That's
something like that.
Pretty close. Yeah, that's right. That's pretty
Hopefully
good.
I'm in the range, right?
Yeah. No, she actually took me to law classes at University of Iowa when I was a baby. Parents ended up getting a divorce, and so it's like, well, I'll just take you to the class. And the professor let her.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah, and then ended up obviously graduating, and then was I think she was assistant county attorney, and then after that she became a judge in Storm Lake, Iowa.
That's fantastic, because even back in the 70s, there probably weren't a lot of women in law school, right?
There weren't, and that's the interesting part, and the fascinating part is kind of her progression to being a female in that profession, and then a female judge on top of it was something that was fairly rare.
Right. So I just wanted to ask you a few things about when you were in grade school and junior high and high school. Go way back. Mm. And I'm a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and we had a kind of a retreat about 2 years ago in Montana. And all of us guys were sitting around a balcony. Said, hey, tell us about your coaches when you were a kid. You probably had good experiences, you had bad experiences, but tell us about that. And so you were all sitting there. I hadn't thought about like junior high, high school for a long time, or even grade school. So tell us about your experiences with coaches when you were growing up.
Yeah, I think that's why I am a coach is from some of those experiences. So when we were younger, my parents got a divorce, as I just mentioned, and so naturally, when those kind of things happen, you kind of pick up not anger, but you get upset with things a little bit quicker than most. And so I probably would have been the kid that was very difficult to coach initially. Just my competitiveness, I just was overly competitive to a fault. To where you're the kid that would lose your temper during the games, or would get mad after you lost, or whatever it may be. And so those youth coaches, there was quite a few youth coaches that were patient enough to stick with me through some of that. And so, from a male perspective, a lot of those, most of them were male, all of them were male. Those were the ones that helped give me that influence when things weren't as easy, as they should. Not that I grew up in a tough lifestyle or anything like that, but, there were some things. You'd go to a game, and if things didn't go my way, I'd lose my temper. And so you'd have to, those coaches would kind of dial that in and corral that to where it's like, okay, we love your competitive spirit, but it needs to go this direction. So those youth coaches, and I always say this at every clinic, I don't think people realize the influence that you can have at that age. And a lot of them were just dads, just other players' dads that would coach, and they were just so patient with me. And ended up getting to where I could kind of harness some of that competitive energy. And by the time I was a senior in high school, it was, I was pretty dialed into it.
Where did that energy come from, that competitiveness, when you think about it?
Yeah, I think my mom was really competitive. I do think that most really competitive people have a level of adversity that happens to them throughout their lives, whether it's early in their life, even kind of middle, their teenage years. That adversity a lot of times creates that competitiveness, also creates that fight that I think that you need. And so, accidentally through, a divorce and a move and whatnot, I think it kind of created some of that stuff. My mom's very competitive. My dad's very competitive. All my families are too. But I think that adversity really helped that more so than anything else.
So you channeled the pain into competitiveness.
Yeah.
Or what your feelings were, your emotional, so you channeled it into sports and being competitive and being the best. And at an early age.
Yeah, I just think I do think that that's important. I always say, even to this day, and we were just talking about the Ironmans and marathons that you've ran, and I ran one. I don't know, it was 5-6 years ago, somewhere in that range, and I remember I just felt like I needed to suffer a little bit to improve, and so I do think things like that in life happen. That allow you to improve and allow you to challenge yourself and then allow you to grow ultimately.
But the suffering was for you, right? It's an individual sport when you do a marathon. That was for you, right?
Yes.
The competitiveness of you so that you could challenge yourself and so you could see if you could do it and how hard it is.
Absolutely. I just think that's as important as it gets to being able to come out of your comfort zone and be able to grow.
That's really cool. So I think I looked that up. I said it was like 4:25. Which is a really solid first marathon. Really solid.
It was really good to start.
You were rolling at 8:32.
Hey, I was moving way too fast, and so I'm running, and my time was off. I had a phone, and for some reason it was calling out the wrong times, or it started at the wrong time, and so I'm going and I'm hitting the half, and I'm looking up, and I'm like. I'm just doing the math in my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 30 seconds too fast for what I wanted to run.
Right.
And as well as I do, if you come out of those fast, it's great now. So mile 16, I think I hit what we call it bonking. I hit the wall. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I think my last mile was like 12 minutes or something, but I never walked.
Shuffled.
Oh,
the marathon shuffle.
Yes, that's what it was. And my buddy, who's actually one of my assistants, we're in the last, I don't know, it was probably the last half mile, and he goes, hey, catch that guy ahead of you. I go, why don't you go catch him? I said, I ain't catching him.
Which one was it? Which marathon did you do?
It was the one in St. Louis. It was like the Cowbell, I think is what it's called. It was fairly flat, but it did go out. So you do the first 13, and then it went out, and it started on like gravel along the river. And the gravel kind of messed with me too, because you can hear the crunch, because you can hear everything.
Right.
You can hear the crunch, and then you hear your breath, and then half the people finish, so you're just out by yourself. Like there's no other people running next to you. They're scattered, but it's not the same. And so ended up finishing it and getting a few IVs at the end of it, and it was brutal, but it was fun.
I always ended up in the med tent for some reason. I figured I was spent by then because you give it your all.
Yep.
It's hard to feel your lower extremities the last 5 or 6 miles, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And it's all mental. They say it's all mental, but you have to train for them. But there is a lot of mental in it. I find something interesting. I read something that 99%, maybe more than that, of the American public cannot run a mile without stopping.
Yeah. That's sad.
It is sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can remember when I was in junior high and whatnot, we had PT classes, and you had to actually do something. And you were timed, and you had to do so many pull-ups, push-ups, and they were on you if you weren't. That was under Kennedy. President Kennedy had a lot of initiatives. I think they're trying to bring that stuff back in schools because I think we got soft.
Yeah.
They're really soft.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Well, congratulations on the first marathon. I think that's really cool. You got a taste of it. Going back to junior high or high school, or go back to sports, do you believe in participating in all sports, or did you individualize in just basketball?
So I played all sports. I loved them.
Okay.
I mean, I wrestled till I think I was in 8th grade. Then you had to give it up because it's basketball. Played football when I was younger. Ran cross country, did track, did baseball, did it all. I like it. I think the thing that's tough, especially in a sport like basketball, is it's a skill sport. And so if you want to be towards the upper end of a sport like basketball, it's difficult to play for. I will say that. It doesn't mean I don't value it. I loved all the sports that I played. It's tricky to be that good because it's such a skill sport. I think the people that really want, if you want to play college basketball, most of the time you have to play one or two sports, the skill sports. If you want to play college football, you can play them all because I think it really benefits you to play them all. Just because from an athleticism, a functionality perspective, I think it certainly helps. But basketball-wise, the higher level guys, they're playing 1-2 sports at most.
Even in high school?
Even in high school.
What would be the other sport with basketball? Like tennis, cross-country, track?
Tennis probably is. Soccer is very similar to that. That's a tricky sport because that requires so much investment. I think football, you can play multiple. I do think baseball you can, but I do think baseball you have to work on it year long. I think you can, and I don't know, I'm not a football coach, but I just have talked to a lot of football coaches because I think you can learn a lot from other sports. And they actually want multi-sport athletes. Right. That's a thing. Like we actually don't want you to just play football. We want you to play every sport because we think that helps your athleticism, your functionality on the field.
I think football coaches love wrestlers too.
Yeah.
If they can wrestle in the hand-to-hand, especially the lineman.
Yeah, the physicality, the body control, absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So that's interesting. So you remember the good coaches. Did you have any ones that you didn't really care for when you were growing up?
Not a lot.
You had good coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty. My mom was pretty good about you always owned it and you always blamed yourself. You didn't blame coaches, you didn't blame anybody else. And so when I'd come home, if I had any complaints, it'd be like, well, how can you change? How can you fix it? There was never a time where it was, that guy, he kind of stuck it to you there. Like, no, it was always your fault. And it wasn't because she wasn't defending me, and it wasn't because she wasn't on my side. It was because she understood that the only person I could control was myself. And so you can control your response to those things quicker than anything else. And so how am I going to respond to that? Now, on the backside of that, she was probably mother hen. She's probably fiercely loyal to me, but to me, it was always, you can do no right. that was the way I was raised.
Tell us a little bit about your family. I know you're married to your wife, Michelle, right?
Yes.
And then Peyton plays ball for you at Iowa.
Yep.
And then Tate is at Solon. He's a junior.
Yep.
Had a great game the other night, right?
Yep.
30-some points. So
yep. And
way
then
to go.
My daughter Grace. Yep.
And she's at Regina.
She runs the show.
She runs.
Yeah, she runs the entire household.
That's funny.
No, I mean, we have a cool just from a marriage perspective and a family perspective, and I think a lot of times we share these so that other people can say, okay, it didn't actually go perfect, and it wasn't necessary to go be a college basketball coach at the University of Iowa. When I was at Northwest Missouri State, I was going to be in finance, and so I was a finance major.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, went to work for Wells Fargo for a short amount of time, and my fiance at the time, Michelle, and she became my wife, she moved to Kansas City to be a school teacher there, an elementary teacher there, so that we were going to eventually get married, and then we were going to move in together in Kansas City. So she moved for me from Cedar Falls, Iowa, down to there because she went to UNI. And I called her. I had a semester left. I had to go 4.5 years. So I had a semester left. She was in Kansas City, going to be there a semester, and then I was going to move down. Called her halfway through that semester, and I said, I don't think I want to go into finance. She goes, really? And I go, yeah. I said, I think I want to be a basketball coach. She goes, okay, where are you going to do that? I said, well, I do it here in Maryville. And it's like, well, kind of moved down here for you. She didn't say that, but she's like, okay. And I'm going to pay for my own way of graduate school too. And she goes, wow, this is interesting. So it was extremely supportive. Did that for 1.5 years. She stayed in Kansas City. Then we moved to Emporia, Kansas. And, and then ended up moving to Maryville, Missouri, and then Drake, and then obviously University of Iowa. But there's a lot of things along that path that were tricky and difficult, and we kind of made it through it and battled through a lot of different things to get to the level that we're at right now.
That's fantastic. Tell us about coaching Peyton as a coach, and it's your son. How difficult is that? And then also talk about Tate when you're watching him. What do you feel? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Coaching Peyton is a lot easier than I would have expected, meaning you don't really think about it a ton when you're in practice. I don't think that's fair to him, and I don't think it's fair to my team, and I don't think it's fair to me. And so we've done a really good job of, when it's practice, you're another player. Like that's what it is. And then when it's outside of practice, then you're my son. You're still always my son, but and so we've done a good job of separating the two and keeping boundaries there. I certainly do love the fact that I know what we recruit to Iowa, and I know the kids that he's surrounded by. So that gives me a serious level of peace, and to know that, like, when he goes to his apartment, these are the people that he's hanging out with, and that's a big deal because they'll form, at this age, it's your friends that a lot of times form kind of your values and ethics and whatnot. And we've got great kids that are around him. Watching Tate and even watching Peyton growing up and watching Grace, I've always enjoyed it. I've tried my best as they've grown. The only time that we'll have some kind of conversation that isn't great is if I didn't feel like they gave their best. And sometimes they could play their worst game and give their best, and it's like, no, you've competed. Like, you're not always going to play perfect, and that's okay. But if they didn't give the effort that we expected, then we'd have a conversation shortly thereafter. That was what I've tried to do throughout. But watching them play, you just kind of sit there and have zero control and just enjoy it. And I don't say anything. I just might mumble some stuff under my breath to my wife where she says, "Hey, that was a little loud." Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Do you sit with other parents, or do you sit by yourself in the games?
I stay pretty separate. I usually Michelle there, and I try not to sit next to my mom because she will yell if she's at the game. But yeah, I mean, I am always very calm. I don't really say anything. Just kind of sit there and watch.
But what a sense of joy. I mean, you had your own abilities as a player at Nyack, and then you played at Northwest Missouri, right?
Yep.
And then you were a graduate assistant there. But, I mean, you had a lot of accolades yourself. But isn't it more special seeing your kids play?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Just as a father?
Just the joy of them competing and sometimes struggling and then sometimes fighting through some adversity. I just think you learn so much from athletics. And Tate's in a great situation right now. He's got great teammates and, an excellent school. And Peyton, I thought, had a good and Grace is coming up too. So it's
Does Grace play ball too, basketball?
She does. Yep. Basketball, volleyball. She played soccer last year. We'll try to get her involved again this year as well.
She probably idolizes Caitlin Clark, right?
She likes Jan. She likes Jan. Yeah, she
Jan's great.
And yeah, Jan always says hi to her. And the girls with the Iowa team are excellent. Like, they just go out of their way to say hi to her and play with her when she's up there. And I don't think they probably realize it, but then she'll talk about it all the time.
A couple of years ago, we had the ladies team when Caitlin was a senior out at Mike Hodges' barn, a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. We had a dinner for him. Lisa came out in the group, Jan. It was just the most wonderful evening because it was just the chemistry of the kids and how they got along, and we all sat and talked to them, took pictures, and it was just, I just can't explain the culture. We talk about that with your guys too. Mm-hmm. The culture that they had established there was just phenomenal with all the kids. I thought it was amazing. So let's keep going. One thing I was going to tell you, you mentioned Wells Fargo, and what I've seen from a business perspective is usually top business leaders are athletes. Mm-hmm. They're a little extra. They've had that discipline. They've had that hard work. They've went things where other people won't go, and that's why they're successful. So I can imagine you in business, you'd be at the top of whatever you wanted to do. Just by knowing you. Yeah,
we did. We were, for those couple months, I think I was the leading salesman one of the months. Yeah. So it was, it's just, from the athleticism standpoint, you learn how to work with a team.
Right.
You learn that to go a little bit further than most, and have a little edge to you in regards to those things, and just that competitive spirit. And the big thing that's really tricky with today's climate that I learned at a young age is delayed gratification. Where you work, and then you may not see it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere along those lines. And I was actually listening to a podcast where they talked about bamboo and what was it?
How long it takes to make it, or
how it grows underneath the ground and then eventually it shoots up and it just like shoots up exponentially. That's really how success happens. It's like it's growing, but you never see the results of it, and then all of a sudden it's there. But most people quit before they see the result.
Right. It's like listening to Warren Buffett in the stock market. I don't know if you follow Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett is just now going to retire.
Yeah.
He's like 95 or 96. I've been out to those meetings where they talk. Him and Charlie Munger just passed away. And how amazing it is to just stay with it. Stay with the basics, stay with what you know, and just stay with it over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Success happens. So I find another thing with our leaders at the company, the guys that have been through the most hardships are my best leaders.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I've always thought that. I mean, I've always thought that you have to go through hard things. Unfortunately, in leadership, you'd like to be balanced. It's not a balanced lifestyle. You have to be able to do things that other people don't want to do. You have to compete a little bit harder. Willing to take it to levels that other people won't. It's the nature of being competitive, and so often we try to search for balance, and I just don't know that that's a thing. In a leadership position.
You're doing a lot of things when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to be a shooter, you're shooting all the time.
Yep.
You're in the gym when nobody's in there. You might turn the lights on and shoot and shoot and shoot. I love watching shooters because they've got the confidence. Once they knock one down, they're going to hit it again, or they're going to keep shooting. They never stop because they have so much confidence because they work so hard, and it's just automatic for them.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to tell you, we're getting into talking about the Hawks and whatever you want to talk about the team and your assistant coaches. But the first time I saw you, I didn't know Drake. You were 34-3 or something, whatever.
31-4.
31-4.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of those things either. Don't worry.
It was pretty darn good. Though,
I remember the games we lost. I remember the losses. So.
Yeah. But I just find it amazing that. The success that you've had and how you built the team and the culture at Iowa. And the first thing I saw when I watched the team is I played just a little ball in high school and behind a couple of really good guards. One started at UNI's freshman year. And so I kind of started as a sophomore, then rode the pine, but got in quite a little bit here and there. But our coach came as a disciple of Maury John, who came from Drake. I think I mentioned that before. And 80 to 85% of what we talked about daily in practice was defense.
Yeah.
And I understand that you start with defense and you build a team from defense out. And when I watched the Hawks play the first time, I just watched nobody was on screens. You weren't switching. You're working through them. You're talking through it. You're helping out, backside help, and sliding your feet, position. Anyway, I just was that causes turnovers. And the effort that I saw defensively, I've never seen in a long time in any program.
Yeah.
So with that, the way you pressure the ball, how people come into a screen and they step through it and they get through it and help out and then get back so they're not switching where it's a mismatch. I just can't say enough about just for me from an old guy here sitting talking to you of how I was just marveled by the focus on defense. So do you want to talk a little bit about if you were going to recruit a kid today, what you expect, talk about Iowa's culture, talk about your processes and what you think, and maybe just a little bit about the Hawks and your ideas and thoughts. Coach.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that. That's what we try to hang our hat on is the defensive side of the ball. And obviously offense, we try to be super efficient, and that certainly helps, but we always felt like to impose our will on the game defensively is the most important part. How to play for us or how to be in our program and even culture as people say. So, culture is one thing that's thrown around quite a bit. And I think sometimes people think that they can be the reason that there's a good culture, meaning, you can just take anyone and come in and it's like, no, I can create culture. Like I can do that. I don't think it can be done like that. So my thing, for us, our definition of culture is when you walk into our building or you walk into our practice, how do people act? Like, do I have to tell them to open the door for somebody? Do I have to tell them to say thank you to somebody? Do I have to tell them to shake somebody's hands, look them in the eyes, or treat a teammate with respect? I shouldn't have to tell you that. That's just a part of the culture. How do you establish those unwritten rules? For us, what we found is the quickest way and the best way to establish culture is people. And the people that you recruit to it establish the culture. And so no matter how good a coach you are, no matter how good a leader you are, that's irrelevant if you don't get the right people, serve those people, get them to understand what their value is to you and to the team and to everybody else around them, teach them how to serve as well. And a lot of times that establishes that culture pretty quick. So what we try to look for in establishing that, quite a few things that, just a couple unique things. We try to look for what I've always said is first place people. And I learned through going to high school, we'd always lose to the same team, Newell Fonda. Lost, I think my senior year I lost three games, and they were all 3 to Newell Fonda. They knocked us out every single year. And so, but we'd finish second, third. And then at junior college, we finished towards the top middle pack. We were close always to that first place deal. And I always thought I was really close to finishing first. And I went to Northwest Missouri State, and my first practice with a guy named Steve Tapmeyer's best coach I've ever been around. I sat there and I'm like, this is what first place feels like. This is what a first place culture feels like. This is what first place people feel like. They've got an extreme work ethic. They've got an edge to them that other people don't, to where it's like there's a competitive spirit. I always say I don't say it, John Thompson said it, you can tame a fool a lot quicker than you can resurrect a corpse. So we want guys with a little edge to them, right? Yeah. And then the last thing that we try to look for those first place people would be energy givers. So, kind of a spin-off of John Gordon's Energy Bus. I tried to figure out, okay, so there was a handful of people that wouldn't make it through our program at Northwest Missouri State. And I could never figure out, like, okay, why can I coach this one who does these things that aren't great, but I struggle to coach this one over here that actually does the right things, but I just struggle to coach him. So over the years, like, why is that? And we found that guys that are moody don't make it in our program. If you're moody, if you have low energy, if you suck the life out of the building, you don't make it. Even if you're like, I've had great kids that are just kind of moody people that just don't make it. And it's not a problem with them as human beings. It just doesn't fit with me. I've got to have high energy. And so all those things is what we try to get to be able to get into our program to make the culture where it is right now.
Can you see that when you meet them in their folks' house, or how much do the parents play into this when you go on a visit? You're recruiting a kid.
You see, I'm a feel guy, so I don't like necessarily define what goes on in that conversation. A lot of it is you interact with them and it's like, I don't like that vibe.
Right.
Or I do like that.
Right.
And so over time, you just develop that where you can kind of see exactly what you do and don't want. I do think there's a level of respect that goes on with parents and kids, and how do they show respect to their parents, and how do their parents respect them? How's that interaction? The questions that they ask, it's if they're asking 1,000 different questions about what's he going to receive from this situation, a lot of times he's not there to serve the situation, and so that usually doesn't work out very well. We've got a lot of kids whose parents, I've had 0 conversations with parents this season. They don't call me about playing time. They don't call me about this or that. And it's hard. A lot of these guys are high achievers, and some of them don't play as much as they like, and their parents don't call. And that says a lot about the kids that we recruit to our program.
That's amazing. That's great. So the culture thing is, I know you're high on culture. Talk about work ethic. I know I read a little bit about 2020, so you want to talk about those? And
2020s,
kids and pushing them. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of high achievers are in the military, athletes. They have to be accountable. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, what would you do if a guy's late to practice?
Well, yeah. So at Division II, here's what we did. So Division I, they have rules for how much you run people. Yeah.
So you can't run them.
Yeah, you can't run them anymore. So it's an odd. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's people that go over the board. Like it's people that. But in Division II, you could run the whole team. So if one person's late, everybody's late. And my theory is if somebody's late, why haven't the other 12, 13 guys called them for a half an hour? Like, why don't you check in 30 minutes before and say, this kid sometimes gets late. I'm going to call him 30 minutes before to make sure he's not late. Right. Like, well, why don't we look out for each other like that? And so now if it becomes a reoccurring issue, then it's just that. So at Division II, it would be the whole team. We would just take care of the whole team when we could, when the rules didn't change. Our preseasons is excruciatingly difficult for a reason. We want to put them in adverse situations, and then we want to see how they respond. What we found is you can get people to, what do they say, kick the door down, push through their limits, et cetera, et cetera. Can I get you to do that with a smile on your face while cheering on your teammates? Like, I don't want you to just kick the door down. I don't want you to just make it. I want you to attack it. Like, I want you to fight through it, and then I want you to get somebody else through it with you. And I want you to be cheering on your teammates, and I want you to do that with a good attitude. It's always like when I get done with a workout and it's like, hey, that kid made it. That kid made his time, and he's just like making it. It's like, nah, but I want him to attack it. Like, I want him to fight for it. I want him to embrace that and love it. And so we put him in a lot of difficult situations in the preseason, so that once the season starts, it's like, hey, we've already been through this. We don't recall it, but it's in their subconscious, and they know, hey, I've been through tough stuff. I can do this. Here's how I respond, and here's how I interact with my teammates.
It's kind of like SEAL training.
Yes, probably not as hard,
system.
But conceptually, yes.
And they're in cold water, and they're in sand, and they're.
I love watching those shows.
And carrying the boats and all those. I know a couple of those guys. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not always the biggest, strongest guy, the big football player or the weightlifter. It's sometimes, maybe somebody that's not as big, and just the mental part of that training is amazing. I also noticed with the players that they seem stronger. So you must hit the weights. Tell us about that. What your philosophy is with weight training.
Yeah,
basketball players.
Weight training is as important as there is for one, injury prevention, and then two, just confidence. And then there's a strength component too. So there's all three phases of that. There's a level of confidence when you walk in and your body feels good and you look good. And so that gives you a level of confidence. And then it helps you be more athletic, obviously. And then probably even most importantly is injury prevention. People don't realize, everybody wants to take days off. In reality, what we found is you want to stay on, even if it's just stretching or whatever, because that allows you to prevent some of those injuries. So we invested a ton into the strength program. We put the current strength coach is under me, whereas before he was under the administration. We invested in their nutrition, and making sure that we can be as in shape as possible, and then obviously prevent injuries on top of it.
They just seem stronger to me when I look at them. It seems like they got some
they are
muscle.
They are.
And when you're banging under the boards in the Big Ten, just like against Iowa State, I mean, there's some guys that they're tough.
Oh yeah.
Really
Just a
tough.
few more years, they'll be really strong.
Right. Yeah, I know Purdue always had those guys that just seemed like football players to me. Michigan State does too.
Yep.
Under the boards and
Yep.
And so that I've noticed that too. That's kind of neat. Do you want to hit a little bit about your assistant coaches? Talk about the men that you have, and if you want to just briefly go through your assistants, because that helps make the team too, doesn't it? I mean, really helps you. And
so less on an individual basis, more on a holistic basis. The way we hired assistants, and this is why I think we have great people, is I kind of went through and I said, who are people that I want to do life with first? And so when we hired this, because you're around them all the time,
right?
And it's hard. Like, it's a fight. It's a public position, and You lose a game and it's the end of the world, and you win a game and you're the greatest person on the face of the planet, and it's you need guys in your corner that are, I guess, the cliche, in your foxhole with you, that you enjoy being around on a daily basis, that you want to spend your life with. And so you get just great people. And when you do that, a lot of times they have the qualities that you want. And for me, the two main qualities that I love is, are they loyal? Like, are they loyal to you? Constantly, when you're not in the room, are they loyal? Do they talk good about your program? Do they talk good about the other assistants? Because you're going to have tough conversations behind closed doors, and I need that. I need people to tell me what I'm doing wrong, and I need them to feel confident and comfortable saying those things. And then I need to be able to tell them, yeah, I was wrong there, without them going out into the public setting and say, so you need that loyalty. And then just a work ethic. Do they work really, really hard? And so those are the two things, along with, do I want to do life with these guys? On my staff right now, I actually have 5 guys, 4 former players, and 1 college teammate of mine on staff. And so, it shows the relationships that we have within our program. And then 2 other guys that I just hired from outside that I talked to for 10 minutes, and I was like, I like your vibe. And then we hired them. And one's Josh Shash and Connor Wheeler, and they're fantastic. And so, all those guys bring a different, and then we kept KD, Kyle Denning, and we've got a really good staff. I'm very blessed with that.
One thing I'll just throw in about Kirk Ferentz, football coach here with 25, 26 years. I've never heard him throw a player under the bus or assistant coach in that amount of time. Yep. So I think that's a tribute to Kirk and how he thinks. And because when you hear other coaches, well, so-and-so did this, I just shake my head, go, why are you doing that publicly?
Well, why did he do that anyway? You're the one that recruited him.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the one that hired him. There's certain levels to that where if you don't, it's the extreme ownership. And I know you're a reader, and I'm sure you've read Extreme Ownership, but that's how you need to operate, is an extreme ownership. Like most everything in your program is your fault to a certain level. Obviously, there's certain things that you can't prevent, and that's their fault. But for the most part, that's where you want to own those things.
So your players buy into the defensive philosophy, right? Or they wouldn't be here?
Correct. Yeah, if they don't, they figure it out pretty quick. They see the value in it. Obviously, our offense is really efficient as well. I think we're maybe top 20 in defense and top 20 in offense, and in efficiency, somewhere in that range. I'm not sure exactly where we're at, but our offense is very efficient as well.
I love the backdoor cuts. I haven't seen a lot of that, and that's just fantastic. A lot of times they're open or pretty close to being open.
Yeah,
it's always an option. It really keeps the defense on their toes when they're trying to guard you.
They have good passing guys. Yeah. So the guys pass and they share the basketball.
Yeah, they're crisp with their passes too. Mm-hmm. You don't see another thing on defense. I watch is you never give up the baseline when somebody's out on the perimeter. I love that because I see that in other programs. They're giving up the baseline. There's no help there. If you give up the baseline, they're going to go in and slam it or make a layup. So, well, that's great. Let's go to milestones for you. Mm-hmm. If you had to name 3 that got you to here, what would you tell me? What would you say? 3 milestones in your whole
got
career.
Me to here, and
got you to Iowa right here today.
And I'm not a massive milestone guy necessarily, but I am. But I guess to get me there makes a little more sense.
Okay.
Throughout my career, or just all the way through.
All the way through.
I would say. Boy, that's tricky. I'd say the decision to go to Northwest Missouri State, that was a big deal because I chased Division I. I had Division II offers out of high school. Chased Division I. Ended up actually having full scholarship offers. Went to Northwest Missouri State because they were a first-place program, and I was fascinated by it on a partial scholarship. Didn't even have a full scholarship there. So that decision to do that, to learn from Steve Tapmeyer, was a big milestone. I would say, I think from a personal perspective, I would say, marrying my wife. I think sometimes people don't understand the value of somebody that's constantly supporting you throughout your life and supporting your mission and what you want to do, and just does it, willingly. I would say the next one was 2017. It was 2016. We lost in our third straight Sweet 16, and all of them were very close. I think they were all 1, 2, 3 points, something like that. And in Division II, the Elite Eight is similar to the Final Four. So that's kind of the deal. You want to make to the Elite Eight. And for our region, it was regionalized at Division II. If you made it out of the Central region, a lot of times you won the national title because our region was so good. And we lost 3 straight times, 2 times to the eventual national champions. Both of those two, one was in overtime by 1 point, and one was, I think, 2 points maybe. I'm not sure exactly what the scores were. They were close games. I remember getting done with that season in 2016, and I was sitting there, I'm close. And we go into that next season, and I actually had a player, Zach Schneider, who's in commercial real estate now, but he was an assistant for me. And he, after that season, guaranteed a national championship in 2007, publicly did it. And he is not that way.
Joe Namath.
Yeah, publicly did it, and he's not that way. It was crazy. And but that whole summer, he forced everybody to be there that summer and forced them in the gym and forced them to work hard. And, I mean, he was relentless with it. Well, we get into those to those first 3-4 weeks of our preseason, which is really hard. And I'd go home and I'm like, man, we're having really good workouts, having really good workouts. And probably week about 3.5, I woke up and I'm like, that's the problem. We're really good and we need to be great. And so we kind of blew it up those last 3 weeks of preseason and tried to make them fail. As much as we could make them fail in that preseason, we did it. We changed it. We adjusted it to where we could be great, because you can kind of fall in love with really good. You kind of fall in love with a good workout and you don't allow yourself the opportunity to fail. And we needed to fail in that preseason so that would help us in the season. Fast forward, we ended up going 35-1 and won the national championship. So he guaranteed it and delivered.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How'd you go from good to great in your preseason? You said you knew you were good, but you wanted to be great.
Yeah,
what did you do?
Our preseasons were always really hard, and they still are to this to this day. But what we did was, at Division II, again, you could do this. Division I, you can't really do this as much, but we would change their schedule drastically. So maybe we'd go at 5 a.m., and then maybe the next day we'd go at 10 p.m., and we'd have a workout in between to where because you could only get 8 hours in. And so we challenged that schedule. Our workouts were created for failure, whether it's from a mental failure, meaning, hey, maybe you go do a lot harder than this, but this is just, maybe you go do the stairs, you go do some bands, and then you've got to remember something to do after that. Maybe it's 5 diamond push-ups, 5 wide push-ups, 5 this. And if you don't remember exactly what to do and you don't do it right, you got to do it all over again. So you'd kind of challenge some of those things from, I guess, a militant perspective, and create a level of failure. You'd fail as a group, and then you'd have to do it again as a group. And then eventually, they would do it. So I just thought it taught them so much. It reinvigorated our program, and then obviously we were able to win the national title.
That's fantastic. That reminds me of Joe Namath. 69 or 70 at the Jets. The Baltimore Colts were the best team in pro football. I think they won most every game. And here's the Jets coming in, and Namath sitting around and goes, "We're going to beat you guys."
Yeah.
And he talked a lot about preparation and how they studied the linemen, what they did, and where their hands were, and whatever. And it was way more than what you thought. Just him talking about it.
Yep.
They really were ready for the game, and Baltimore wasn't, because they thought they'd just run over the New York Jets.
Yep.
So tell us about. I've noticed on the sidelines you go to the line and then you're coaching all the time. Are you talking to the players, or or where they need to be, or what actually are you doing when you go to the line during the game?
The free throw line?
Oh no, I'm talking about in the coach's box.
Yeah.
You're pretty intense, and is it where they should be, or what they're doing or not doing right, or are you?
Sometimes we're calling plays. Sometimes we're just making adjustments, and sometimes I'm kind of a hype man anyway. Like I get into it. Like I just feel invested. I think that everybody coaches a little bit different, meaning I think that some people are better at just staying calm. Some people are fiery. Some people are, and I think whatever way you are, like Kirk's very calm and poised, and I feel like I'm calm, but yet I'm better at being more animated and into it and energetic, and that's just my style. That's just I think there's value in being who you are as a coach, and so a lot of times I'm just getting hype.
I noticed another thing is when you call a timeout, all the players kind of are like their arms around each other, and they're kind of like a family.
Yep.
Running a timeout when they're listening to you. I think that's really cool. That nobody's out fiddling around, looking out in the crowd.
No,
they're paying attention.
It requires a little level of connection and vulnerability.
Right.
You know, I don't think people like to touch each other.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so I think it is one of those things that you put your arm around somebody. There's a level of vulnerability to that, and so we do that in the huddles.
I noticed another thing is a Star Spangled Banner. They're all lined up, hands on their heart, and I think that shows respect to the flag and the country, and I just think that's great.
Yep, absolutely.
There's nobody that's not paying attention to the Star Spangled Banner in the military or whatever's going on there. So let's go. Let's take. I don't know if you want to talk about NIL and how that affects the program. And I've always been amazed at just when it's been out of. It's kind of like a free agency contract with no contract, kind of, and how hard that would be. But to me, and I'm thinking a lot about Kirk's program in football. You know, there's an Iowa way, and he brings people into the Iowa program. And NIL, to me, some teams bring a lot of NIL guys in. And how could you mesh that with a team that you've cultivated since they were freshmen, and all of a sudden somebody steps into this position and everybody's going to rally around them? To me, that would be really hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on NIL and how that integrates with your program, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tricky to navigate because it's not going away.
Right.
You know, and it's just not happening. And so, you know, I think the first thing with NIL and with rev share is to make sure that you don't have a negative attitude directed towards it, whether you feel that way or not. From a coach's perspective, that's not helpful. So we try to embrace what it is, and it's the new way, and you need to adapt and change and adjust to what you do. I think, again, recruiting the right kids allows for that. Kids that want to be successful as a group and as a team can allow somebody to come in and maybe a transfer comes in and you have to pay him slightly more than what you necessarily would if he was internal into your program. I think sometimes as long as you have the right kids, you can do that. The way we're going to use it is more for retention to make sure that we can retain kids and bring them in through that. I do think it is, and I don't know why we hide from this so much as a Division I and high major basketball and high major football. Although we don't like to do it, it's a business model, and I think it probably needs to be that. Like I think we tiptoe down the path and we say it's this, or there's still athletes and stuff. Yeah, it's an athlete making $1 million. So like, is that a professional athlete or is that a college athlete? Like, to me, that's a professional athlete that's getting a college education. That's what that is. Like that. Like, let's not hide from the fact that it doesn't mean you can't have a business with good people that want for each other's success. Like, you can still do it. You know, the best businesses in the world who pay people a lot of money, who pay big time salaries, who attract the big time talent, big time CEO that hasn't been in your program, and it's like, I'm going to pay him $1 million because he's that good, and I'm still going to keep you at $200,000, and you're going to be good with it. You can still do that. That's just what you got to do. You just have to embrace it a little more.
Well, it seems like Signetti at Indiana football, 2 years. It's just amazing. I think there's a lot of NIL players there. But however he's done it, he's done a good job. But they've molded them together, and they play as a team. And the Heisman Trophy was Mendoza. Seems like a great player and person, and attributed a lot to his mother with MS. And I listened to that Heisman Trophy speech. It was amazing. So yeah, I think you're right. You have to embrace it. It is thing of the future. And is there more parity? Is it going to level out between programs where you can only give out so much money?
Yeah, I wish it would just have a salary cap, a legitimate one.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, now you'll get the guys that probably pay on the side and the guys that don't. Right. Kind of the old way there, but at least everybody can pay now.
So I don't know if you want to share any goals with us, but what are your thoughts for where the program is now and where you want to go with it in the next few years. Like with my team, we always have, annual goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. Do you reach out that far, or just tell us a little bit about the program and your goals?
So I did goals when I was early in my career, and I actually, and part of it was more of a vision board, and I actually had one goal when I first started to coach, and I said I wanted to be either a Division II head coach at the age of 27, or I wanted to be a Division I assistant by the age of 27. And I remember I got the Division II head job at Northwest Missouri State on, I think it was April 11th. I was 26, and then I think April 12th, I became 27. And so I actually legitimately, it was weird, and I still have the piece of paper to this day. But now I'm not as big of a definitive goal person, and I think it probably comes from just being so process focused. And so, like, we're not talking about winning a conference championship. I mean, that's what you want to do ultimately, right? That's your barometer, and so you want to check those barometers pretty consistently. But I don't necessarily have one because I've always felt like from a basketball perspective, it can actually slow your growth because you've achieved this conference championship, and it's like, yeah, but you're still not the best you can be. And sometimes you may not get that conference championship. You may finish 4th, and you're actually the best you can be. And so we just want to get better every day. That's our goal. We do want it to look a certain way. We want our kids to act a certain way. That's really important to me. And then we want kids to be successful once they leave the University of Iowa. Like, we want them. It's great if we win championships while you're here. We've done that. But I want you to be a great husband, a great father, a great citizen, just a great man once you leave. And so those things are probably more important than a specific goal.
I loved the discussion after the Iowa State game when you came out and you hit him in the mouth the first half. Second half started a little slow, but you hung right in there and clawed back. And then instead of talking about, that was like, a pretty good loss or whatever you'd say, we lost. Yep. And I think Sturts talked about, I've won 88% of my games. I've only lost 14 in 3.5 years.
Yep.
I don't like to lose.
No.
I just thought I just love that stuff because it still was a loss. It reminds me of Hayden Fry when he first got here in the late 70s. They played Oklahoma down at Oklahoma back when they were amazing. And I think we got within, we were ahead of them to the last few minutes or seconds or whatever. And we got beat by Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And Hayden, they were saying, well, that's a pretty good loss if you had to. He said, it's a loss. Yeah. And I want to change the culture. And we're going to win. And I'm sitting there, because prior to that, Iowa football didn't have a lot of winning seasons. I'm thinking, this guy's going to do something.
Yeah.
But I just like that mentality. He was like upset about, quit talking about we got close to Oklahoma.
Well, it's poison. And I told that to our guys the other day. I think people are excited because they see the physicality that we're playing with, the effort, the connectedness, all those different things. I think you have to be careful as a player and as a program to not drink the poison of being acceptable to lose, because if you win 2 extra possessions, you win the game.
Right.
And so, like, that's the problem. And we told them before, I said, don't drink the poison. Like, don't, right. When people tell you did a good job in that game, you've come a long way. That's fine. That's an arrival. We haven't even gotten close to arriving yet. And right. So we need to understand, don't drink that poison. Like, we still lost the game, right. and we're gonna attack it like that.
And I like to also, don't talk about the refs. Huh? Just even though you might want to.
No, I can't.
But you can't do it. You can't.
You can talk about it all you want. I can't do anything.
I'd probably stay away from that. Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was, I don't know, the effort. I was just amazed how great an effort after Michigan State come back and then take it right to them.
Yeah.
That was, to me, amazing coaching, and the players should be commended. I mean, they were giving it their all.
They fight. Yeah, I mean, our kids fight, and that's...
You're not going to quit.
No, and part of it is sometimes you got to come out swinging first.
Right,
and,
right.
He's just got to... They're kind of bullies in a good way, like they compete and stuff like that. And so the only way to handle that is to swing. And if you don't swing, they're just going to run over you.
And the environment, Michigan State and Iowa State, that should get you ready for the Big Ten here.
Absolutely. Great environments.
They are, aren't they?
Yep. Well
yeah,
coached
Hilton
teams.
has magic up there, I think.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the football coach got him fired up at halftime. Did you hear some of the things?
Yeah, somebody said that.
Yeah. He got him wound up.
That was fascinating.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have.
To say that publicly.
Yeah,
I
I probably wouldn't have. I mean, I know, like, I do I swear on occasion? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, like, I probably wouldn't do it in that venue.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, but he apparently fired him up,
Yeah.
fired up the crowd. So I want to finish with some things that I'd like you to talk about, if you would. Is I have three things: a hero. Who's your hero in your lifetime so far? A hardship and a highlight. Those three things. So you can start with any of the three. So a hero, hardship, highlight, and in your whole life since you were a child all the way through till now.
I mean, heroes would be my mom. Just how she's able to do it. Being a judge, a female, and then obviously raising us, and then she obviously remarried, and everybody else has been great to us. But yeah, my mom probably from a hero. What was that? Hardship?
Hardship and highlight.
Yeah,
So
I mean the hardest. Obviously, we talked about the divorce, but the hardship was, from a more personal was our Michelle's parents had passed away, and then I think that was hard. And one of them had passed away of a heart attack, and then of cancer and whatnot, and so that was hard.
At a young age, or
young age.
Well, you were
recently. Well, recently.
Okay.
But it was unexpected. Both of them were fairly unexpected, and so those were tough for me, but tough for her. But to see how she's navigated that, and then navigated being a coach's wife, navigating being a great parent. I don't think people realize how difficult that was for her, and to kind of stick with us, and then. You see her in public and you're like, there's no way she went through that. Like she's just always happy and always in a good mood and always serving others. And so that would be the hardship. And then highlight was, my three kids being born. There's no doubt. That's the highlight of
It's a miracle, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
When you're there in the room. And back to wives and mothers, you can't say enough about it. How hard it is to be a mother and to raise children.
Yeah.
And to be a wife and to put up with us. It's like, if anybody knows my wife, if you did, she's a saint.
Yeah. Well, especially in the professions that we're in, and there's a success level that, there's days where I'll go in at 6:30 and I'll get home at 9:00 at night,
Right.
and you're fairly unresponsive because you're dialed in and focused in this, and to understand that, and then to not have a completely and utterly bad attitude when you get home, and then to help raise the children, to have a strong marriage, and I think sometimes people think that marriage is supposed to be this glorious, easy, like you see it in the catalogs thing, and it's far from it. It is far from it. It is one of those things that you have to constantly work on, and I'm the furthest thing from a perfect husband or father. But we work on it and we fight through it and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes it special.
Don't you think faith has a lot to do with it too?
Yeah,
as long
absolutely.
as you have a strong faith.
Yep,
for
absolutely.
Wife and kids.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a strong part. So, well, listen, it's been fantastic to have you here. I know you're a busy guy. Appreciate your time. I'm so excited you're here as coaching Iowa men's basketball. It's just fun to watch you guys. I know you're going to be successful. You're going to do great things here. So thanks again for coming in.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on.
You bet.